मैं रिकॉर्डिंग लाउड ठेवतो मॅडम. Yes.
स्टूडेंट्स आवाज आला की चालू करायचं.
म्हणजे तर आवाज जातो.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. So our today's lecture is metallic irritant. We have already studied two metallic irritants, that was arsenic and lead. Okay. Now we are going to study mercury and copper. So we'll quickly revise the classification. Classification based on nature of poison. Corrosives like strong acids and strong alkali. Example, sulfuric acid, oxalic acid, nitric acid. Irritants, which will be organic and inorganic poisons, which are further divided into metallic, non-metallic, and plant and animal poisons. And out of that, from inorganic poisons, we are going to study today metallic poisons, and out of that, we are going to study copper and mercury. Then systemic poisons, cardiac poison, example is aconite. Cerebral poisons like opium, heroin, alcohol. Nephrotoxic poison is mercury. Hepatotoxic, phosphorus. And miscellaneous, example is food poisoning. So now this classification, you are supposed to learn it like some mantra, okay? It is asked in every Viva and it is very basic. So remember it like some mantra. So coming to classification of irritant poison. I told you that divided into two groups, inorganic and organic. Inorganic are further divided into metallic and non-metallic. Example of metallic poison is arsenic, mercury, lead, copper, and non-metallic is phosphorus, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Then organic poisons are further divided into vegetables and animals. Example of vegetables is croton, Abrus precatarius, capsicum, ergot. And that of animals is snakes, scorpions, and spiders. Okay. So now coming to mercury. It is a metallic irritant poison. The class of poison is metallic irritant poison. Just a second. Yeah. So mercury, class of poison is metallic irritant poison. Now, where do we use mercury? Just think where we use mercury. Yeah, tell me. Mercury, all of you have seen mercury, right? So where do we use it? Thermometers.
Thermometer.
Yeah. Thermometers and BP apparatus. What about BP apparatus? Yeah. So the uses of mercury is thermometers, barometers, manometers, that is sphygmomanometer, or BP apparatus. Then ceramics, dry cell batteries, okay? Antiseptics and disinfectant. Antiseptic and disinfectants also have mercury. Then embalming, fingerprint powder, dental amalgams for making filling of teeth. See this? Street lights, sun lamps, UV lights, cosmetics like mascara, agriculture to make pesticide and fungicides, and glass blowing and hat industries. So I've highlighted this glass blowing industries and hat industries. So remember this, okay? Why I've highlighted this, you'll see. So got it? Uses of mercury, which all industries the occupation people will be exposed to this, okay? So what is mercury? Mercury, it is also known as quicksilver. You all might have seen how mercury is, right? So it is very volatile. It is a liquid metal and it is volatile. So that's why, because it is volatile, it is called as quicksilver. It is silverish, silver grayish in color. Then hydrargyrum. It is also known as hydrargyrum. Okay. And in common language, it is known as para. Right. So how it is? Physical characteristics, it is a liquid metal. It is the only metal which on room temperature, it is liquid in state. Right. It is bright silvery and it is volatile. Okay. Mercury exists in three forms. One is elemental mercury, that is Hg0. Vapors are toxic. So whenever you come in contact with the vapors, then it is toxic. Okay. Metallic mercury is not poisonous, but where the vapors of it are poisonous. Then coming to organic mercury, the second is organic mercury, which is example is methyl mercury, and it is most toxic. This is an MCQ. Okay. Methyl mercury is most toxic. Then coming to inorganic mercury, there are two. Mercuric, that which is soluble. When it is soluble, obviously it is getting absorbed and it is poisonous. Okay. And mercurous, it is less soluble and then thus it is less poisonous. Got it? So directly, if metallic mercury is consumed, it is not absorbed and it is not poisonous. The vapors of elemental mercury are poisonous, and organic mercury, it is most toxic. Example is methyl mercury. So this is how it looks like. We all have seen mercury. See liquid and it is silvery. And see how volatile it is. It's moving everywhere. So that is quicksilver, hydrargyrum or para. So other compounds which are poisonous of mercury are, I told you they're divided into three. One was elemental, then it is inorganic and organic. Inorganic, mercury chloride, mercuric oxide, mercuric sulfide. So many of them, you need not remember all these. Life is too short for that. So first is mercuric chloride. These are colorless or white crystalline powder. Okay. Colorless prismatic crystals or white crystalline powder. Mercuric chloride. Mercuric oxide, it is brick red. Oxide is brick red. Mercuric sulfide, and others will be mercuric iodide, mercuric cyanide, mercuric nitride. Okay. In this inorganic, you have to remember mercuric compounds are poisonous because they are soluble, and mercurous are less soluble, so they are less poisonous. Okay. This is you have to remember from inorganic mercury. Coming to organic mercury, I told you methyl mercury is the most toxic. Then there is ethyl mercury and there is mercurochrome. Okay. Yeah. When it comes to toxicity, organic are more toxic than inorganic. Clear? You all be able to understand. You all be able to write the MCQs correctly. Now, coming to this is how crystalline mercury chloride looks like. Mercuric oxide, brick red in color. Okay, and mercuric sulfides. These all are poisonous compounds. So now what happens to mercury when it goes inside your body? Elemental mercury, I told you vapors are poisonous. So why? Because it is absorbed through the alveolar membrane and it will enter blood. Okay. Vapors are poisonous because they are going to get absorbed from the alveolar membrane and they are going to enter the blood. The other salts, the other compounds which we saw, they are going to get absorbed from skin, GIT mucosa, vaginal mucosa, and bladder. Now see, it is getting absorbed from the vaginal mucosa also. So it can be a abortifacient poison, right? GIT, skin and GIT mucosa, it is going to cause irritation, right? Organic compounds like methyl mercury pass placental barrier and cause fetal toxicity. So this is also important. Fetal toxicity, if it is going to cause, this can also cause abortion, right? Then in blood, mercuric ions cause tubular damage during excretion. Okay, so it is going to cause tubular necrosis also. In CNS, it is going to act on cerebellum, temporal lobe, basal ganglia, and corpus callosum. Okay, so you can see majority of the CNS symptoms will be seen in the patient, right? Deposited in liver, spleen, and bones, and excretion is through urine, feces, and bile. If you understand the metabolism, you can give me signs and symptoms. I told you, vapor se jayega because of vapor, because it is absorbed through alveolar membrane. Okay. Then mercuric salt, absorption, skin, GIT, mucosa, vaginal mucosa, and bladder. Organic compounds pass placental barrier and cause fetal toxicity. In blood, mercuric ion cause tubular damage during excretion. In CNS, it acts on cerebellum, temporal lobe, basal ganglia, and corpus callosum, and it is deposited in liver, spleen, and bones. Means it is going to get accumulated in all these organs, and then excretion is through urine, feces, and bile. So what exactly is the action mechanism of action? Similarly to lead and arsenic, it has affinity for sulfhydryl groups of enzymes. We have seen this. So they're going to interfere in almost all organs and all the cellular metabolism for all organs. Okay. So similarly to lead and arsenic, mercury has high affinity for sulfhydryl groups. Okay. It is impounded in all tissues. We have seen this. I told you previously also in the previous slide. Then it is going to get deposited in liver, kidney, spleen, and bones. Okay. Fatal dose is 1 to 2 grams of mercuric chloride, and fatal period is 3 to 5 days. Fatal dose is 1 to 2 grams, and fatal period is 3 to 5 days. Now, mercury poisoning. Chronic mercury poisoning is a LAQ. Okay. And mercury poisoning, there are many MCQs from your university exam point of view and even in your PG entrance exam. Okay. So we will see what are the signs and symptoms of mercury poisoning, acute mercury poisoning. Acute mercury poisoning, it occurs in 2 phases. Okay. Acute mercury poisoning, it will occur in 2 phases. The first phase is within 24 hours. Okay. What all things will be seen? That is within 24 hours. So that is first phase. Metallic taste, obviously. There will be feeling of constriction in throat, hoarse voice, difficulty in breathing. Why? It is a metallic irritant. It is going to irritate the mucosa. Then there is grayish white coated mouth. Grayish white coated mouth. Obviously, it is grayish silver. So because of that, coating of the tongue will be like grayish white. Then hot burning pain extended to abdomen, nausea and vomiting. Vomitus is going to have grayish slimy mucoid material with blood, followed by diarrhea with blood stained stools and tenesmus. I told you in lead chronic poisoning or acute poisoning, there was constipation. Okay. But in mercury, there is diarrhea which is blood stained. Okay. There is diarrhea which is blood stained. And then there will be circulatory collapse. Okay, this is acute phase. So basically these are all because of the irritational symptoms. Then coming to second phase, that is 1 to 3 days. So second phase of acute is first day to third day. Now if the patient survives the first phase after the circulatory collapse, second phase begins in first to third day. There will be glossitis. There will be glossitis. The tongue will be, the appearance is called as strawberry tongue. The appearance is strawberry tongue because it is irritation. Okay, because of the irritation, there is strawberry tongue and ulcerative gingivitis. मतलब gums के लिए. Okay, gums will be inflamed. Ulcerative gingivitis. Then stomach, slate gray mucosa. So you all know what is slate. You all might have used it in childhood days. You know, slate we used to use with chalk. We write, so that is slate. So slate gray mucosa. How the slate is? It is grayish plain. So that way the stomach will look. Obviously, just think silver, quicksilver or silver color of mercury. It is going to form slate gray mucosa. All the highlighted red color points here are MCQs. Okay. Then severe infection, loosening of teeth and necrosis of jaw. And after many days, there is membranous colitis. Diphtheria like colitis. So membranous colitis is like, you might have seen this in micro as well. So like there is a pseudomembrane. There's a one more extra membrane on the colon. So that way it will look. And in 2 to 3 days, renal tubules get necrosis. PCT necrosis will be seen. Mostly you see PCT necrosis. Okay. So that is proximal convoluted tubule necrosis and produce transient polyuria, albuminuria, uremia, and acidosis. Okay. So this is what happens. These 4 things are MCQ. So I've kept them on a separate slide. When person consumes mercury, what is going to happen? His tongue will show strawberry color. Strawberry appearance. Okay, tongue will have strawberry appearance. After tongue, it is going to go to the stomach. Stomach is going to give what appearance? Slate gray mucosa. After stomach, it is going to go in the colon. There you will find diphtheria in like colitis, diphtheria and colitis. Okay, and then kidney, that is PCT necrosis. Okay, in kidney you will find PCT necrosis. So this was about, so see, this is strawberry tongue. Can you see this? Glossitis, this is inflamed tissue of tongue looking like strawberry. Okay, this looks like strawberry seeds. So this is strawberry tongue. And in the second picture, you can see diphtheria. Okay, in colitis. So you already know how is the mucosa of the colon. It is pinkish, and over here see this all deposits. It feels like there's another one pseudo membrane has formed. So that is membranous colitis. So coming to chronic mercury poisoning, very, very important. All these things are MCQ. Chronic mercury poisoning can be a short note as well. So the first thing you have to remember is hydrargyrism. Chronic mercury poisoning is called as hydrargyrism. What is chronic lead poisoning called as? Yes? Anyone can tell me? Chronic lead poisoning is?
Plumbism.
Yeah. Yes, very good. So that was plumbism. Okay. And chronic mercury poisoning is called as hydrargyrism. Then there is acrothymia or pink disease. And there is Minamata disease. So what all is this? We will see. Chronic mercury poisoning is called as hydrargyrism. Now, whenever there's a chronic exposure, that time you will see chronic mercury poisoning, exposure from all the mercury sources. Chronic exposure from all the mercury sources, you are going to, the patient is going to have hydrargyrism. So causes is continuous accidental absorption by workers, excessive therapeutic use, recovery from large doses, ointments used as external application for long time. So symptoms, basically patient will have acute symptoms, the symptoms which you have seen in acute poisoning. So which are the for irritational symptoms. So there will be inflamed oral mucosa, loosening of teeth, GIT disturbance. So all these things will be there. Apart from that, hydrargyrism has Danbury tremors. Danbury tremors, what are these? These are tremors, they are first in hand. Okay, so the patient will have tremors in hand first. Then they're going to progress to the lip and tongue, and they're finally going to involve all arms and legs. Okay, so these are Dan-Barry tremors. This is MCQ. Then there is Mercuria lentis. From lentis word we understand we are talking about lens. Okay, lens of eye, right? Mercuria means mercury. So what will happen when mercury vapors will be deposited in the anterior lens capsule? Okay, Mercuria lentis is mercury vapor will deposit in the anterior lens capsule and they will form brownish deposit of mercury. So that is Mercuria lentis. So MCQ here is, first of all, they will say chronic mercury poisoning, which is the feature of chronic mercury poisoning. Option could be Mercuria lentis, or they can ask the place where it is deposited. Okay, the site of deposition is anterior lens capsule. So you have to remember that. In advanced condition, it is called as Hatter's shake or glass blower's shake. So when Dan-Barry tremors, they progress. So first, what I told you is Dan-Barry tremors, first they are in hands, then they come on lips and tongue, and then later on finally all over the extremities. And then when they are very severe, okay, in advanced condition, it is called as Hatter's shake or glass blower's shake. So now you understand why I highlighted in the uses of mercury, I highlighted glass blowers and hats. Oh, hat making industries, because the terminology hat shake or hatter shake or glass blower shake. Okay, so these terminologies, these things are seen mostly in people who are glass blowers or who work in hat industries. Okay, then mercurial erethism. Mercurial erethism is psychological effect of mercury toxicity. So because of mercury, I told you CNS symptoms will be more severe here. So psychological effect will include anxiety, depression, delusion, hallucination, melancholia, or manic depressive psychosis. Okay. So the patient will be sad. Okay. He's going to be really depressed. Melancholia means the patient is depressed. No matter what, he is never happy. So he is going to have manic depressive psychosis, which is also known as mad hatters, because mercury is used in making hats. So got it? All these things, Dan-Barry tremors, which are going to progress to Hatter's shake or glass blower shakes, and mercurial erethism, and then Mercuria lentis. Mercurial erethism is also known as Mad Hatter. So these all are MCQs again. So this is melancholic. See, she shows no matter what, crying. So this is Mad Hatters. Mercurial erethism. Coming to acrodynia or pink disease. So what happens whenever there is chronic mercury exposure, there is hypersensitivity reaction. Okay, this is especially seen in children. Because of chronic mercury exposure, there is hypersensitivity reaction, and which causes irritation of hands and feet. Okay, which is going to cause irritation of hand and feet, because of which there will be itching. Okay, there's always irritation, there is itching, and because of that, the desquamatization of skin is going to happen. Means the skin will peel off. So now there is a constant itching, and you are constantly the skin is going to come out. So what will happen? The surface will be, there would be it would be inflamed. There would be swelling, right? So because of intense peeling of skin, because there is inflammation, there is swelling, it is going to look pink. Right, getting my point? Because of chronic mercury exposure, especially in children, there is hypersensitivity reaction, due to which there is itching of the skin. Okay, especially of hands and feet. So because of that itching, constantly is scratching it, the skin is coming out. So the surface is going to look very inflamed. Okay, and it is going to be painful also. So because it is inflamed and painful, it is called as pink disease, right? So acrodynia or pink disease, it is caused by chronic mercury exposure in any form, especially in children. hypersensitivity reaction, irritation of hands and feet. They are going to cause pruritus or itching. Then desquamatization or peeling of skin. Due to intense peeling of skin, it is called as pink disease. Okay, because the skin is coming out. Puffy, painful periphery. Periphery means because it is happening on hand and feet. So that was puffy because it is inflamed. It is painful and periphery. So the word acro means periphery and dynia means pain. Okay. The word acro means periphery and dynia means pain. So this is how it looks like. See the limbs. Can you see? Pinkish. Such inflamed skin tissue. This skin coming out is desquamatization. Okay. So acrodynia or pink disease is seen in chronic poisoning of mercury. See again this child, just the periphery is inflamed and pink. So this is acrodynia or pink disease. Coming to Minamata disease, we all know about this. Okay. Minamata disease. So what was Minamata disease? A disaster that happened in Japan, right? In Japan, in the Minamata Bay. So because of that, this name is given Minamata disease. So what exactly happened there? From a factory, methyl mercury was there, was left in the Minamata Bay, right? And because of that, the people who, and from the bay, there were fishes, okay, in the bay, and people ate those fishes. The fishes, the poisoned fish with methyl mercury was consumed by people living in that particular area, and then they developed mercurial poisoning. Okay, we know almost around 900 people died in that disaster, and thousands, like 2000 plus people have mercurial poisoning symptoms. So that was Minamata disease, right? That was Minamata disaster from Japan, right? So Minamata disease is organic mercurial poisoning. I told you methyl mercury was left in the bay by a factory. So organic mercurial poisoning. I told you methyl mercury is most toxic. Then by consuming poisoned fish, the source is fish. And CNS symptoms predominate. So there would be ataxia, there would be numbness, and all the other things which we saw. There would be tremors, weakness of the extremities. So that is Minamata disease. Okay. So this is how from a plant, from a factory, it was released. Even in the fumes, okay, from the factory, the vapors, methyl mercury was left into the Minamata Bay, and that fishes were consumed by people, and they have had Minamata disease, right? So I told you CNS symptoms are seen. See, coming to treatment of mercury poisoning. So before treatment, I want to give you this mnemonic of hydrargyrism. So I told you, you will find slate gray mucosa in the stomach. Okay, so mnemonic is slate gray mucosa only. So S stands for strawberry tongue. L for lentis mercuria. A for acrodynia. T for tremors. E for erythism. Gray, so G only we are going to take here. That is glass blower shake or Hatter's shake. And mucosa, only M we are going to take. That is Minamata disease. Okay. So it's a easy mnemonic. Hydrargyrism. If you remember, that is slate gray mucosa. You know all the symptoms also. S for strawberry tongue. L for lentis mercuria. A for acrodynia. T for tremors. E for erythism. G for glass blower shake or Hatter's shake. M for Minamata disease. Just write this down. It's easy to remember. So like Entire chronic poisoning you can remember by just remembering this mnemonic. So I hope you all have written this. Now coming to the treatment part. I told you whenever you think of heavy metal poisoning, you should think of chelating agents, right? So chelating agent here we use is BAL. Before that, we are going to give gastric lavage 5% sodium formaldehyde sulfooxalate. This is MCQ, okay? In mercury poisoning, for gastric lavage, the compound which we use is 5% sodium formaldehyde sulfooxalate or 2 to 5% sodium bicarbonate, milk, egg white, and 5% salt. 5% salt, and then even albumin, okay? This is a mistake here. Egg white and albumin. Okay, this 5% salt was wrong. So okay, just discard this. That is 5. This, remember the gastric lavage, 5% sodium formaldehyde, formaldehyde sulfooxalate, or 2 to 5% sodium bicarbonate, milk, egg white, or albumin. Okay, so that is for gastric lavage. Here, 5% sodium formaldehyde sulfooxalate is MCQ. Then BAL is the chelating agent of choice. Other is penicillamine, but EDTA is not used here. Okay, EDTA is not used in mercury poisoning. Then peritoneal dialysis or hemodialysis can be done to remove the toxins from the blood. Got it? Mercury treatment. Medical legal importance would be accidental, okay, occupational, abortifacient, okay, it is introduced in vagina for producing abortion, and also it crosses the placental barrier, so it is abortifacient, rarely homicidal or suicidal, okay. So this was about mercury. Coming to the next metallic irritant poison, copper. Uses copper, it is used in insecticide, fungicide, algicide to kill the algae in water, used in alloys and pigments. We all have seen copper, okay? We all have seen copper utensils at home. We have seen it is used in light wiring also electrical wirings. So these are some uses. I told you utensils, coins. In olden days, coins were also made up of copper, some jewelry, electrical wiring, okay, nails, and insecticides, pesticides, okay. So spraying. I have just remember I have typically mentioned here vineyards, okay. I have mentioned a picture of vineyards. Remember that in copper. Just remember this entire slide, that copper, everything copper around copper, and there is a picture of vineyards, right? Now, why is that? We will see. Copper is a metal, you all know, and metal is itself not poisonous. Copper as a metal is not poisonous. Poisonous compounds are there. That is copper sulfate, which is also called as blue vitriol. MCQ, blue vitriol is copper sulfate. Oil of vitriol is sulfuric acid. Copper sulfate is blue vitriol and oil of vitriol is sulfuric acid. So copper sulfate, it is blue vitriol because it is blue crystals, okay? Copper subacetate, it is bluish green masses or powder. It is bluish green. Copper acetoarsenic, copper carbonate are other poisonous compounds. So see, copper sulfate, it is bluish. It is so beautiful. So bluish, and it is called as blue vitriol. Copper sulfate is called as blue vitriol. Copper acetate, it is bluish green. Okay. Can you see it is little greenish also? Just a minute. Okay, we'll continue. Copper subacetate, it is greenish comparatively. See these coins, you might have seen such old coins, which are there is rust here. So that is copper subacetate. Fatal dose of copper sulfate is 30 grams and that of subacetate is 15 grams. Fatal period is 1 to 3 days. Absorption, normally copper is present in body and that there are in two forms, that is albumin, either it's bound to albumin or it is bound to ceruloplasmin, which is a copper enzyme. Okay, so ceruloplasmin. Absorption in copper poisoning will be from skin, GIT, lung and mucous membrane. So mucous membrane, lungs also, GIT and skin. So now it is getting absorbed in lung also, so respiratory system is involved. GIT, so all the GIT system is involved. So typically poisoning will occur in all these cases. Okay, and even in the mucous membrane. Excretion is through bile. Traces will be found in saliva and milk. Copper poisoning is again of two types, acute and chronic. Acute copper poisoning symptoms will occur in 15 to 30 minutes. Then it is an irritant. It is metal, so there will be metallic taste. Because of irritation, I told you it is absorbed from the mucosa also. So there is increased salivation, burning, pain, cloaky abdominal pain. I told you in last lecture, cloaky pain is sudden abrupt pain, severe pain in abdomen which will disappear suddenly. Okay. Then thirst is there, nausea, repeated vomiting. Vomiters will be blue or green in color. Diarrhea, but it is not bloody diarrhea. Okay. In lead poisoning, there was constipation. In mercury poisoning, there was diarrhea, but that was not bloody. In copper poisoning, there is diarrhea, which is not bloody. Okay. In mercury poisoning, diarrhea was bloody. In copper poisoning, diarrhea is not bloody. And in arsenic poisoning, what was that? Arsenic poisoning, it used to mimic cholera. So rice water is stools. Okay, so that is the difference here. Inky urine, like inky urine is bluish urine can be there. Oliguria, hematuria, albuminuria or uremia. It is affecting the kidneys. So there would be inky urine, oliguria, hematuria, albuminuria and uremia. Jaundice, cramps of legs or leg spasm and convulsions. So basically in acute poisoning, all the irritation symptoms will be there. In chronic poisoning, there is general emaciation, that is abnormal thinning will be there, abdominal pain is there. Then there are Clapton's line. Okay, Clapton's line. What are these? These are greenish line on the dental margins of the gum. Yes, and in lead poisoning, there were Burtonian lines. Okay, those were bluish lines on the gums. These are on the dental margins of the gums. So near, see, more closer to the teeth. So these are Clapton's line, which are greenish line. Burtonian line, lead lines were bluish line on the gums because of chronic lead poisoning. In chronic copper poisoning, we have Clapton's line, that is greenish line on dental margins of gum. Then Vineyard sprayers lung disease. In the uses, I told you I have specifically kept that picture of vineyards because it causes vineyard sprayers lung disease. Vineyard sprayers lung disease. Okay. Just a second, hold on. Sorry. And I told you copper gets absorbed from in lungs also. So vineyard sprayed lungs, these are what? Copper sulfate is used in insecticides in vineyards. Predominantly, it causes interstitial pulmonary lesions, which may lead to respiratory insufficiency. Okay. And then Wilson disease, like symptoms will be seen. Wilson disease is a inherited disease in which copper in the body is increased and then it gets deposited in various tissues like cornea, brain. Okay. And then patient will have symptoms. That is Wilson disease. So you're also in chronic poisoning. Copper is increasing, so we'll have similar diseases. You can see this Clapton's line. I told you they're more closer to the teeth. They are greenish. So that is Clapton's line. See, no protection here. The sprayer is using no protection, no gloves, nothing, no mask. So after a few years, he is going to develop interstitial lung disease. That is Vineyard sprayer's lung disease. Okay. Also, copper get deposited into the cornea. Can you see? Greenish. So these are Kaiser-Fleischer's ring. This also seen in Wilson's disease. Treatment will be stomach wash with 1% solution of potassium ferrocyanide. What is that going to do? It is going to form insoluble cupric ferrocyanide and that can be excreted. Okay. This is an MCQ. 1% solution of potassium ferrocyanide is used in copper poisoning. Okay. And then N-penicillamine, EDT and BAL. Copper is a metallic poison. So chelating agents we are going to use. Out of this, N-penicillamine is more effective. Okay. PM findings will be greenish blue froth at mouth and nostrils because it is greenish blue. Then obviously it is going to get deposited on the stomach mucosa, gastric mucosa, and the stomach contents are also going to look greenish or bluish. So that is diagnostic sign here. Gastric mucosa may be congested, swollen, and inflamed. Liver may be soft and fatty. So see, the gastric mucosa of the stomach, it is greenish because it is the color of copper. Okay. Greenish bluish, and this is diagnostic of copper poisoning. Medical legal importance: accidental poisoning by eating food contaminated by cooking food in copper vessels. Occupational hazards in vineyard poisoning. Okay, insecticides. The ingestion of food to which copper has been added to keep the green color of vegetables. So that could be there. In children, sometimes they can swallow copper sulfate due to its attractive color. Rarely it is suicidal, homicidal, abortifacient, or cattle poison. So this you can write. Medical legal importance you can always write if you know the uses. And one more thing I want to cover in this lecture is iron. In iron, it is not so important from exam point of view. The only thing that you have to remember is the antidote. Okay, in treatment of iron poisoning, we use desferoxamine. So desferoxamine that you have to use. So that's all about your today's topic. I hope you have understood it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
क्लोज करो मैडम. Yes.